I'd rather be and here with you. That's all I need. There's no one I'd rather see close to me.
Hello and welcome to today's millinery class. So in today's class we're doing another type of hat, and these are the things you're going to use. On the cereal box, you're going to have to cut 2 of those. All right, the circumference for this box is 26 inches, and then the radius is 4 inches. All right, so I cut it on an A4 sheet as my stencil. Okay, and then I folded it into 2 to find out the radius. So when you've done that, you're going to split it into 2, and then we'll come back later to what we'll be doing with that. So you're going to need 2 cereal boxes, like I said earlier. You'd also need some glue. So for me, I'm going to be using these 3. I have them on standby. I'll use them as and when I need them. Okay, you'd also need a sellotape. Then you need some craft pegs. You need your Alice band, and of course your millinery wire for shaping. You'd also need some ribbons. So I have 2 types of ribbons in different sizes. This size, which is a 1 centimeter size ribbon, will be used to wrap the millinery wire so that you don't see the white background, and so as it blends into the birdcage net we'll be using for the brim. All right, and then these 2, which are size 1.5 centimeters, will be used in making a flower. The size of your millinery wire should be twice the circumference of your cereal box you cut. Okay, so the cereal box, like I said earlier, was 26 centimeters. So multiply by 2, that will give us 52 centimeters in circumference. Then you add 2 inches for the overlap here. Okay, that is what is going to help us secure the shape into a round shape. We'll come to that later. You'd also need some feathers. For me, I'll be using the ostrich feathers, and then you'd need some birdcage veil as well, and your fabric. So this will be for the outer bit of the hat, and this will serve as the lining of the hat. We'll get to that as well. And I have some beads on standby, and I'll use it as and when I need it. Okay, so let's get on with the project. But before we start, I'll say a big thank you to all our subscribers, and if you're joining us for the first time, I'll say that you subscribe and hit on the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video is released. So let's get on with it. Okay, so let me talk to you briefly about what I have done here. Okay, so it has gone from this to that. All right, so what I did was to overlap this split by 2 inches overlap. Okay, so you overlap it by 2 inches, and this is it, right? 2 inches overlap, and then you put a sellotape to stick it down, and that is what I have done here. All right, like I said earlier, one of the fabric is going to be for the outer part of the hat, and one of them is going to serve as the lining of the hat. Okay, I have the actual shape of the hat, and then I'd also gone out about 1 inch, okay, to cut around the shape. What I did next was to put in slits all around it, because this is a circle, and the only way to cover it properly with the fabric is to make slits here, and you get to understand it properly as we carry along. Okay, what I've also done with the slits that I want to point out to you is here. You can see that my slit did not go all the way to my line. I left a little bit of space here, so I have not cut straight up to this line. I've just left a little bit here to help me wrap, and I'll explain it to you later what I did. So I've done that for both of them, and we are going to start wrapping. Okay, I'm going to wrap my outer part first, and then we go on to the inner bit. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to just put some PVA glue all over my box. So I'm going to spread some PVA glue thinly, and this is the PVA glue. All right, I'm spreading it thinly all around the box, and then we're going to start stretching our fabric over it. So it's always ideal not to put too much of the PVA glue on your mold, okay, because it tends to wet your fabric and you don't want that. So you're going to stretch it nice and neat so that we don't have any folds anywhere. And I like what I have now. You can see that it's nice and neat, and in some areas the glue was a bit too much, so it's made our fabric wet, but I just prayed I will be able to get away with it in the end. Okay, so I'm going to lift it up and then we stick these ends down. So it's at this point that you're going to be needing our craft pegs and also a lot of the glue. So I'm going to be generous on this bit more. Okay, put it down. It has to be more generous on this point because we are trying to stick it down. Okay, so I've finished blocking this with the fabric. As you can see, I'm going to wait for it to dry some more as we come back to it. So I'm going to set it on the side here and leave it to dry, and then we work on the bit with the lining. Okay, so you can see that for the top part I had done the blocking on the outer bit of the cardboard, but for the lining is going to be for the reverse. All right, so I'm going to put just like we did earlier, not too much, just spread it thinly. Okay, so I've spread the glue thinly. What I'm going to do now is to put the inner part, to put the lining fabric in here and then work my way to the center and outside. I can see that obviously I couldn't hide or avoid some of the wet bit. Hopefully when it dries up it's going to look much better than it is looking now. Okay, so make sure that there are no folds. All right, and then we take it from there. So I'm going to spread the other bits on the top here, and it's at this point that we are going to do a generous amount of the glue because we need it to stick properly on the outer bit here. Right, so I've finished blocking the inner bit of the crown. As you can see, is a bit wet. I'm going to set it on the side for both of them to dry properly as we work on the brim. And this is how I'm going to join it. So cotton thread on a double, I put them together and I'm going to wrap it tightly around the joining or the overlap to hold them together. Okay, so I've just started, I've moved away from the edge of the overlap, starting here. I'm going to go this way and bring it back this way. You start from in, out, bring it all the way back to the end, then go back in a little bit to finish it off and tie a knot. And then so this is what I've done. I've gone in and out. I'm now just wrapping it around my finger and around the millinery wire to pull it into a knot. I've done that about 5 times and I'm sure it's securely done. So that is it. So at this point, the next step is to wrap our ribbon around the millinery wire. I'm going to get some glue to start off with to hold it down at this bit here whilst I wrap it all the way around. I think that this should be enough, so I'm going to start my wrapping like that, gently. Okay, and back. So I failed to mention that the size of millinery wire I'm using is a 1mm millinery wire. All right, so I'm just going to wrap it tightly and gently around it to cover the white background with my ribbon. Right, so I've finished wrapping the millinery wire with a ribbon. Whilst everything else is drying up, let's work on our birdcage net around our brim. Now with my threaded needle, I'm going to try and connect these holes, and stitch the two together all the way around. Okay, what is left is to bridge up this gap here. So as usual, I'm going to try to overlap, not actually overlap, but try and find the joints and the ends and then stitch them together. Okay, so I'm going to stitch this, bring these two and these two together. Then as you can see here, I can put a stitch there. Okay, so I'm going to stitch it such that you don't see too much of a joint. Okay, so I'm just stitching it with a single thread and possibly the same color for the birdcage net. All right, so the joining is done over here. The next thing is to stitch this birdcage veil onto the crown and then bring this over. So as you can see, we still have a few of the blue markings. So I think the solution to that is to use a heavier fabric for the lining for the inside so that it doesn't get to wet it, because what I used was a bit lighter, and that is what is made the glue show over here. So I'm going to stitch this to the crown and then bring the lining inside with some glue, sticking the two together, and then this is what we're going to have in the end. Okay, and then we can start embellishing our hats from there. So I'm going to turn it upside down again, get my needle and my thread. So my thread is on the double. I'm going to try and stitch the birdcage veil to the brim. Okay, so I'm going to go through that manner and then pull it to lock it. It's just to actually position the birdcage veil properly, nothing much. Okay, so I'm doing kind of an overcast stitch because you're going to use glue to hold it properly in the end. So I finished stitching the birdcage net to the crown. I'm going to place the inner parts now and then press them all together. I put some glue in there. All right, so this is what we have. The next step is to stitch both crown bits together. Because of the little bit of birdcage net going in between there, you can't have both layers very firm, so you have to stitch it down to make it very firm. So what I'm going to do is get some needle and thread, and we're going to hand stitch it at this point. So with your needle and thread, you're going to go in here and then pick a little bit. So you pick a little bit of both layers and then you pull. Now don't worry about the put in your millinery wire, because you can always straighten it back to the shape it was before, because it is malleable that way. You pick a little bit of the inner cloth of the top layer and the inner top cloth of the bottom layer, and then you stitch both of them very close. So this is what you should have. All right, so I've finished stitching the whole bit. I'm going to lift it up for you to see. I finished stitching it very close together, and the next thing is to do some embellishment. So I've gone ahead to do some flower with this ribbon, with the 1.25 centimeters ribbon I had mentioned earlier. I've done one of it here. I'm going to put you through how to do it with the second one that is going to come on the side, and I'll think of using the spine of the ostrich feather to also finish it off somewhere else. You need a bead for the center. As you can see, I placed a bead in the center here. Okay, so let's get on with it. You're going to have to cut 6 of 11 inches in length of this ribbon. What you're going to do first is just turn the ribbon like this, okay, and bring the other one to like that. You get it? Try and make sure that both sides are equal length, right? You try and pull and adjust to make sure that both sides are equal length. And when you're sure of what you have, you're going to put a stitch in the center to hold it in. So I'm going to put a couple of stitches through this. I'll leave it like that. Get the next one in the same way. I'll do that. Okay, we have to make sure that they are equal lengths. So this is what we have, right? And then I'm going to lay it in this manner. So we're just going to be filling in the gaps as we go. Okay, so I did the first one vertical, the next one is going to be horizontal, then the next one is going to be laid diagonally to fill in the gaps. So you keep going in that manner until you filled the whole bit up, and then you have this blossom. Okay, this is what we have. The final thing is to fix our bead. So I'm going to string it on the thread and then just stitch it in the center here. Oh dear. Okay, so this is what we have for the ribbons. I'm thinking of adding a ostrich spine, so I'm going to try and shave all this off and just leave a little bit at the end, and then you're going to stick it in and see if that works. Okay, so this is what we have here. It looks more of a Kentucky hat. So I've just done a little bit of feather arrangements in the corner here, and then when I turn it upside down, I put an Alice band there as well. Okay, so here we are. So we've come to the end of today's project. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe if you've not done that already. Until we meet again in the next